So let's talk about anger and ADHD. So most people don't realize that unfortunately anger and ADHD do work really well together. And the reason is because of the impulsive type, right? So the biggest thing is that when the children are impulsive, they really don't know how to control their actions. So along that lines, they also don't know how to control their emotions and their feelings. And when they are angry or upset or are stressed out, they don't know how to express their feelings. All they know how to do is get mad. And to say the least, if somebody made them angry, the last thing they're going to do is, for example, I am going to take this ball and I am going to just gently put the ball down, and I'm not going to throw it at your head because you just made me angry. I'm going to sit it down calmly, and then you and I are going to have a conversation about why you made me angry, and then we are going to just have the conversation, and I'm going to simply walk away calmly. Yeah, that ain't going to happen, right? What's going to happen is if they are mad, most likely they're going to take the ball, hit them in the head, and then deal with the consequences later. That's what usually happens. And so that can be a very frustrating moment. But for them, it's also frustrating because most of the time they do not want that to happen, right? They want to be able to tell that person, yes, you made me mad, or yes, you made me angry. And you can tell, especially for a lot of children, because they feel really bad afterwards. I know when my child has an episode, he will come to me after, the situation, and he will apologize. And I would say, why are you apologizing? He will basically tell me what he's apologizing for, and he said that he will work on it. Now, what is interesting with my child is that the tips that I'm going to share with you, we have worked through these tips. So he doesn't have his episodes all the time, and I can tell they work when he looks at me when he is in a frustrating situation. Just like the other day, he literally looked at me and he says, you know what? I am going to take a breath for 10 seconds. So it's like, yes, you're growing and you're learning, and these things are working, and it's a beautiful thing. So yes, doing this process for us has really helped. Now, I'm only going to share with you a few tips. There's a lot of different tips out there, but just knowing that these processes do work has been a win for us. So before we get to those tips, I did want to share with you something that was interesting to me. So because, I am just a parent of an ADHD child, and, as I learn things, I like to share my learnings with you. But the reality is that I'm still learning too. And so when I was doing my research, I ran across an article from a Dr. Robert Myers, who is a child psychologist. And one of the things that he says is that, just, confirming what we've been talking about so far, is the reality is a child who has ADHD, their temper tantrum happens a lot faster than a child that does not have ADHD. And a lot of it is because of that brain circuitry that controls the emotion. It's basically dysfunctional. So it doesn't work the same way for an ADHD child. So temper tantrums happen a lot faster, and they are a lot longer. And you know what? That really touched a chord with me when he says they're a lot longer, because I remember a time when the temper tantrums would happen for, 30, 45 minutes, even up to an hour. And whether it would be here or I would get a phone call from the school, they were just amazingly long. And he has grown out of that. Again, using this process has helped. Some other things have helped. And it's just been an amazing turnaround since where we started. Okay? So let's get into those different types of tips. And again, these are just a few tips. If you have any other tips that you would like to share, please make sure that they're kind and functional tips that can help everybody. And I would love to hear from you. And again, because we only go through, this is our experience and this is one journey, I definitely want to hear from you and share what you have done. Because, for example, what's not on this list and I'm about to talk about is one of the things that I used to do with my daughter is once she got old enough, I would have her go and take a walk around the block and just get her emotions out. And she would cry as she's walking. And long story short, by the time she came back, she was, calm and ready to hug and apologize, and it made a huge difference. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to help your child. So as far as these, so let's start with number one that you try to even avoid them getting to that point. So the fact that my son knew that he was about to get mad and says, I'm going to take 10 seconds or a 10-second breath, he knew his trigger. So that's number one. You need to help them learn their triggers. So if they're really young, it would just be more on you trying to understand what their trigger is. So if you see something that's going to happen, you can either help distract them, put them, move them to a different direction, or just help them through the process. So if you understand what's going to trigger them, hopefully it's something that you can take out of play. And we used to use this a lot, not just at home, but also at school. We understood as a team, or I also called it as a community, what some of his triggers were. So we knew how to help him avoid those triggers or help them through it if we knew that trigger was going to happen, regardless if we wanted to or not. Okay? So that can help him even, help them before they even go down the anger episode road. But if they're already in the anger episode situation, then the next thing you can do is basically help them connect the dots. Because sometimes they're not connecting the dots, especially if they have never gone through this process of being able to learn how to process what is going on. And if you help them connect the dots, saying, for example, as they're in the anger episode, simply saying, I see that you are angry, or I see that you're upset, or I see that you are mad, and I see that you're raising your voice at me, or I hear that you're raising your voice at me. So those simple phrases, being able to have them connect the dots and realize that, what you hope that they will realize is how I am acting is connecting to how somebody else is feeling, or the fact that I am angry or upset and somebody else recognizes that. And believe it or not, that is big, because they're starting to slowly put a picture together of what their emotion is causing. The third thing is showing empathy. So just simply saying, after you've talked through connecting the dots, it's, so I understand that your friend made you upset, or I understand it's very early in the morning and it makes you feel grouchy, or I understand that you tried so hard on that test and you did not get the grade that you want. Just really connecting with them and empathizing with them and allowing them to know that you hear them and feel them. And again, that is a big thing, because you are letting them know that their feelings are real. Them being upset is real. And doing all of that calmly, so that connecting the dots and then empathizing, doing that calmly. The third thing is that you also need to do calmly is simply remove them from the situation. So if they are, and not engage. So if they're not doing anything that is unsafe, obviously if there's a safety situation you want to engage, but they're simply just having a tantrum or having a moment or just angry, you simply say, you know what, I think it's probably not a good time for us to discuss this now. So why don't you calm down and go to your room? And now I'll admit, not all children are alike. My oldest had a problem with this. My oldest would stand out in the hallway and still be very upset. And so I had to multiple times tell her to, get into her room. But my youngest would go into his room. He would just, scream and cry. And then eventually he would start to calm himself down. And now that he's older, I don't get the screaming. He just simply goes into his room. He may be mad, but then he again, having that moment by himself, he learns just to calm himself down. And he'll either come out crying, which is actually a good emotion for him because now he's moved to the anger, just feeling, emotionally upset. And then I can console him a lot easier. And then we can start to move into number 5, which is talk it through. So once he's gotten to that stage where he's calm, he's basically reasonable to talk through, then we move into stage 5 where we basically regroup and then we discuss what had happened. And he is so much more reasonable to talk to at that moment. And so we talk through the situation, we talk through what made him angry, and then we talk through future solutions, and we talk through, so what are some of those techniques that you have learned, be it from me, be it from your teacher, be it from the specialist, what are some of those things that you have learned that could have helped you in these situations? And we will go through that too. And so those are some of the tips that I have to share. And like I said, if there's anything that you want to share, please definitely put them in the comments box below. Anything that we can learn from each other and try would be very helpful. All right. So as always, I'm so glad to connect with you, and I look forward to talking with you soon. All right. Take care.